Right then, we're finally been able to get on the river. Wow. I don't want to jinx it. We're on the way to the river. We're on the way to the river. So today we're going to go on the River Avon at Pershore, by Worcester. One of my favourite venues. I've never pleasure fished it, believe it or not, but I've fished a few matches there and it's always been brilliant. We've had a few days of rain to top the river up, but it's been flooded for a couple of weeks now, isn't it?
To give it a good wash out.
Yeah. And then it dropped back down to normal level, and then we've had 2 days of rain and it should be dropping off again now. So it should be lovely. It's a bit high but perfect for what we want to do. Today we're going to be fishing flat floats. So I've emptied the rod bags. All that's in there is one pole, a couple of top kits, and I've just brought a tray of flat floats with me.
Incidentally, we've actually been asked by a lot of people in there.
Yeah. We've done a poll on our Facebook page, and everyone asked for flat float fishing. It's not a problem, it's one of my favourite ways of fishing, to be honest. A bit lazy, but you normally get some bonus fish on it. It's now 8:47, Sam will be there at 9:21, 31 miles away, and we're stuck on the M5 at the moment.
Unbelievable. 30
miles an hour.
30 miles.
With flat float fishing, you don't tend to catch loads of fish. However, the fish that you do catch tend to be bonus fish.
Yeah, nice fish, like nice stampers. Like.
Yeah. Try and catch a few of them today. We'll set a lighter flat float up as well to try and catch some smaller fish.
So this is the first time here for me. I've not been here before. What sort of depth?
It's about 10 foot on the peg I've been on. It's about 10 foot, but
top 4,
top 5s.
Top 5s,
yeah. Top 5s. However, like just upstream, I think it's deep. It's like 15 foot.
Yeah.
So we'll have a look when we get down there. We'll have a look, see what the pegs look like, and we'll go from there. See what happens.
Yeah,
right.
Definitely.
See when we get there. We're going to go through now is our ground bait. So last night I mixed up my ground bait because I knew that was going to be fishing flat float, so I want a nice inert mix. However, if you do come to the bank, just mix your ground bait as normal, but just wet it up a bit more than what you normally would, because we're going to be adding soil to this mix. So what I've done, I've got a kilo of Dynamite Silver X skimmer in here, and I've got half a kilo of brown crumb, just to put some more food content into it and make it a bit more sticky. All I've done then is come onto the bank, and I've riddled off already from up there. There's about 4 kilo of soil here. I'm not going to need 4 kilo. I'm going to mix it 50-50 to introduce into the peg. Right, so once you mix your ground bait, the next step is just make sure it's right. The way I check my ground bait before I put soil into it is I give it a squeeze, and it should break in half without breaking up the rest of the ball. There we go. Lovely. All we're going to do now is measure out our ground bait so we know how much soil to add to it. So we've got a 3-point tub. One, Right, so we've got 11 pints of ground bait into that bucket. All I'm going to do, initially I was going to mix it 50-50. However, looking at the colour of the river, it has got some colour in. So I want a more potent smell, so I'm going to add it about 80-20. So all we're going to do is add your ground bait into this bucket, and then we can add our soil. So we're going to put 9 pints of ground bait into the bucket, and then we'll go 6 pints of soil. All we're going to do now is, with the drill, just give it a good mix around. So at this stage now, that's our ground bait and our soil mixed together just nicely. All I'm going to do to make sure, I've got right to the bottom of the bucket, I'm going to split it in half between the two buckets and give it another mix round to make sure it's evenly distributed. I've seen straight away, if you look to the bottom of the bucket, you can see it's stuck in the corners. That's exactly why we split our ground bait into two, to make sure we get right to the bottom. If you can see there, that stuff, see that? It didn't mix properly. Just give that a quick mix. Put it off. Done. That's our ground bait mixed. It should form a nice ball and break up into half, just like that. Absolutely bang on. Right, let's get the swim plumbed up, and then we'll come back to this ground bait to make our balls up. Right, all we're going to do is plumb up our peg now. So I've got a 28 gram plummet. However, I want to get a positive reading of our peg. So all I'm going to do is put this one, put the hook through, put it onto your hook length. Grab another one of the plummets, put that on, and hook it as you would a normal plummet. So you've got a plummet there, but we've put one on already. So we've got 2 plummets on. That's getting up to 60 gram of weight onto our rig. That's going to give me a nice positive indication. When them drop onto the bottom, we're going to know exactly every contour of our peg. So let's get this in now and put it into practice. Right, so what we're going to do is ship out to our desired location, which is 14.5 metres today. We've got there, and we're going to go to the left extremity of our peg. Lower your plummet in until it hits the bottom. There you go, there's the bottom then. And then we're going to work down our peg, working with the flow. So all we're going to do is lift it up a couple of inches and move it down the peg, and then lower it. There you go, there's the bottom. Straight away there's a centimetre depth change there. It's a bit deeper as we go down the peg. Deeper still. And it's just sloping off gradually. And there's a small hole. Just low, following the peg down, nice and slow, reading the peg. We're still in that hole there. A nice little hole. Nice and flat there. And then it starts to come up nice and slowly. Still coming up. Still coming up. And we go to the right hand side of our peg. So all in all, there's about a 3-inch difference in our peg. There we go. Right, so we've got our finished article now of ground bait. All I'm going to do now is take out 4 balls. Into the separate bucket there. That's going to be cupped in, that is, and we're going to ball the majority of this mix in. All we're going to do is take out We're going to take 4 points of this out. I'm going to put that to one side, and that'll be our top up mix, what we've just took out. So to this, all I'm going to add is a handful of pinkies, and there's a few maggots in there. We're just going to roll them round in our hands to stun them. Mix them in. I'm going to add a handful of casters. So we're going to ball this up now. That'll be balled into the water onto the pole line, and then we're going to cup in this so we know exactly where all that bait's gone. Right, we're just going to chop a few worms to put into our cupping mix. Not going to chop them too small because we're after better fish on this flat float. Just chop them into small segments, not into like liquidised worm. We want the fish to have something to eat. There we go, let's put that. All we're going to do is mix round the worms into the mix. That'll give us a nice sticky mix so we can ball up and then cup it into our peg. So all we're going to do now is mix it in slowly. As you can see, these balls are full of feed, absolutely full of feed, and we want the fish to have something to eat. Some big sections of worm in there, some pinkies, some maggots, and quite a lot of casters. So let's get some balls made up and get them into the river. Right, there's our balls made up. Let's get them in. Welcome to CNR Fishing Masterclass. Today you join us here on the River Avon doing some flat float fishing. So all we're going to do now, get our cupping kit, ship out to our desired location, and we're going to ball 12 balls in, just like that, and then we're going to cup 6 balls over the top. However, I've broken them down to half the size so they fit nicely in my cup, so we'll cup these 6 straight on top of that so we know exactly where our feed's gone. All we're going to do now, as I just said, is cup these 6 small balls straight where the flat float's going to be. we've got a nice strong pole, and then the first rig is on 15 Preston Hollow, main line 015. You want a nice strong main line for this kind of work. You're catching big fish and you're using big heavy floats. Next we've got a Creluso Torpedo float in a 15 gram. Moving down, we've got a bulk. So this is important for me because using big floats you can't seem to get the right olivettes for the job when you're using the bigger floats. However, what I do, just go to the tackle shop and I use jig heads. So go to the Predator section and you can buy jig heads. These, I've got a 7 gram and a 5 gram jig head on here, and then I just bulk that out with SSG and AAAs. Moving down, we've got a bulk of number 8s. We've got 2 number 8s there. Moving down just above the hook length, we've got another 2 number 8s. Then we've got a micro swivel, and we've got 8-inch of 013 Preston power line. And then our hook on this rig, it's a 13 B711. Nice strong hook. Right then, our next rig is our running rig. We're just going to run this down, just inching it through our swim, just nice and slow. Starting off that the elastic is a Preston 12 hollow. The main line is 015 Preston power line again. The float is a perfect 8 gram. Moving down, we've got a Drennan inline Olivette. Because this is an 8 gram, we can get away with using Olivettes. And then all we've got is a strung bulk then, all the way down to the hook length of number 8s. Because we're running this rig down, we want it nice and girly. It's still really strong rig, but you want to put a bit of finesse into it. And then our hook length is 013 Preston power line down to a B711 again, but this time it's on a 15 instead of a 13. Still a nice strong hook, but it's a bit smaller, so we can use smaller bits of worm and maggots and stuff like that to get them smaller fish out our peg as well. That's our rigs done. Right, so all we're going to do is go to the left hand extremity of our peg, lay your bulk on the top and pull your float upstream, lower it down nice and slowly, drop your float on the water and then pull your tip down to the water as well. Just put your tip just on the top of the water and then just bring it down nice and slow. The aim is to have the bristle of the float sitting up towards the sky and not left or right. And just edge it through nice and slowly. Nice and slow. Coming over our feed now. Just run it over nice and slow. Nice and slow. Right, so we've been fishing now about 45 minutes and we've had 4 skimmers and a little chublet. All I'm going to start thinking about now is topping the peg back up. So I don't want to go mad and put loads of bait in because you don't know what you're going to catch after. So just put bits in at a time. So all I'm going to do now, I'm just going to put maybe 40 maggots into my bowl. Just give them a little mix around. And about 40 casters. All we're going to do is scoop that up, make a ball. As you can see, you've got a small ball laced with maggots, pinkies and casters, and we're just going to put that into the peg now. That should give the peg a boost, and we'll maybe catch another 3 or 4 fish off that, and then just repeat the process. If you're catching a fish straight after the top up and then you're not catching again, then that tells me that they want a ball every single chuck. So we'll put that in now and then I'll see how we get on. Right, for this kind of fishing it's crucial that we need a nice bump bar, a nice steady bump bar. There's different kinds on the market. There's some with the flat top. I personally like these with the rings because when you are doing this kind of fishing, you can put the bump bar in there. No matter how much wind there is, you know that pole's not going anywhere. So you can place that right over your bait, and you know you can leave it, and it's going to stay where it is. What I like to do, if I haven't had a bite for a couple of minutes, then all I do with these knobbles here, this is what they're good for. I just lift the pole up slightly and just edge it down the peg, just nice and steady. This can sometimes entice a fish into taking that bait, and then once it gets into the other knobble, you can leave it for a couple of minutes. Oh, that's a bite. Fish on. Right, so I'm still on this lighter flat float now. I'm just edging it through. We're getting dibs every run through, and I've found out what they are. I've just put a little tiny piece of worm on and a small pinky. Float's gone under and we've had a little roach. It just proves that you can catch everything on it. Put him back. Right, so we've picked the bigger float up now. 15 gram torpedo, and all we're doing, we're just sitting right over the top of that bait. We've got our bump bar set nice and stable. I've got my marker and I've just laid it in straight on top of that bait. I'm just going to sit there. Hopefully we'll pick up a few of them better fish. Right, so we've just had them 7 skimmers about 20 minutes, 30 minutes ago. And I keep seeing a few little chublets top over the far side. Because we can only fish a flat float today, I need to try and draw them in. On another day I would fish a waggler over there or a maggot feeder, but we need to try and draw them in. So all I'm going to do now is just chop a few worms and some caster, and we're going to bait drop her in straight on top of that 14.5 metre line. Hopefully these worms will draw them fish over our bait. So all we're going to do is chop the worms. So So there's about 8 worms in there. Grab some casters, mix them up. Lovely. Just put your bite dropper on. And that's ready to ship in. So make sure your bait dropper's fastened up properly. All we're going to do is hold your bait dropper in one hand and attach your pole together like so. We're just going to stand up and this part's important now because you need to be quick. So all we're going to do is drop our bait dropper into the edge really quick and then ship out. So it's all in one motion. Do not let your bait dropper touch the ground because you'll lose all your bait. Like this, watch. We're just going to ship out to 14.5 metres. Just raise it up. Because of the surface layer of the bait dropper is quite big, the river will try and pull it down. So place it up about 1 metre above where you want to put it in. Just lower it in nice and slow and you'll feel the river pulling your bait dropper down. Just bring it down in line to where you want it. Hold it about 30 centimetres off and then just drop it down. Lift up, drop it once more just for good luck. There we go. Bring it back. And it's as easy as that. Right then, our different hook baits. For the small skimmers and stuff like that, all we've been doing is a small piece of worm and a pinky, just like that. However, for the bigger fish, like the chub and then big bream, we're just putting a full worm on, nick the tail off, just like that. Right, let's get back in and get another fish. Oh, there's a bite. There we go. Might be a perch. So we've just put that chopped worm and caster in now by bait dropper. Straight away, we've had a fish. Feels like it could be a perch. We'll soon see. Where is it? Oh, it's a little chub. Oh, missed him. There he goes. Right, so we've just put that chopped worm and caster in via bait dropper. Straight away I've had a bite and it's a chub, different species. So that tells me that the skimmers, they've had enough of that ground bait or have caught them all. I put that chopped worm and caster in, straight away I've caught a different species. So now I'll put another bait dropper in, chopped worm and caster, we'll try and catch some more chub, see how we're getting on. Right, so that's it, we've called it a day. I've had a brilliant couple of hours. I aim to catch some great big fish. However, we've just had a net of fish around the pound mark. But we've had 6 or 7 lovely skimmers, just like this. And then we've finished off just with a load of chublets. Beautiful fish, all the same, but hopefully you follow these few tips you'll have some days like this on the flat float. Cheers for watching. See you later.